Hi, this is my end of year presentation of learning for my 2020-2021 school year of Humanities. So first I just want to give a brief explanation of what my project was. Most of my project focused around sewing and learning new techniques as well as creating physical things. I've known how to sew for a while. I'm in the costumes department of our theater program, but I got into it more through COVID and I got my own sewing machine at home. So I wanted to learn how to make more things as well as create things I could physically go out and wear, and making things from scratch rather than just alterations. I also started to look into the environmental effects of fast fashion because I think through COVID, a lot of people turned to online shopping. And as fun as that is, it's definitely not great for the environment. So I wanted to just show a couple of the things I made this year. So I've made a couple bucket hats. I've made a skirt. I added some patches to my brother's denim jacket. In that photo right above me, actually, I made that cow print top. And then right here was one of the things I was really excited to learn. I learned how to do like a ruffle hem on a shirt by using like overlock stitches. And that was really cool. And they were all some things that I was pretty proud of. There was definitely some mistakes and growth that happened along the way. So this is just an example of like expectation of something I found for inspiration versus reality of something I made. So on the left are kind of a pair of pants I was inspired by. I thought they were really cool, but they were from a European company, so I couldn't really buy them, or they would take like months and months to ship. And I was like, oh, I should try making them. And then I went to Joann's Fabrics and I found this awesome fabric and it looked really cool. And I was like, oh, this would be awesome to try to make those pants. And they didn't go to plan. Pants are pretty difficult to make, which I found out, but I think that's definitely something through the learning process. They didn't end up fitting my waist, and I tried to alter them to fit a friend of mine's, and they still didn't really work out correctly. But it was really fun and definitely like I learned from it, and I learned how to make pants. You definitely have to make the waist bigger than you think it's gonna have to be. Um, so I definitely learned a lot more through different techniques and with certain fabrics how they have to how you have to kind of like overlock the edges because this specific fabric was fraying a lot. And that's just like materialistic wise, I guess, a lot of the things I learned. But I also definitely learned a lot through myself working on this project. So, one of the things we usually focus on are the habits of mind. So, these are just some of the habits of mind that I've noticed strengthened in myself through this project in particular. So, first, one of the most important ones that I noticed was reflectiveness. I feel like in any sort of creation project, whether you're doing art, writing, anything really, you have to kind of rely on being reflective and looking at your past work and accepting it and knowing how to move forward. You can't just like be like, okay, I did that. Let me just do something completely new. You need to learn from it. And I really wanted to improve. So, for example, those pants that I just showed, um, mistakes happen, but you have to be able to learn from them and know how to improve from there. So that's one of the ways I think reflectiveness was really important. Another habit of mine that I noticed definitely grow through this project was my confidence, especially my own work. I obviously was learning new things, and that was really necessary. And that was kind of my goal for the year, was to keep learning and growing. But in the past, all of my past work that say like didn't work out, I would kind of like bring myself down for. I actually had a in class during one of our presentations through class, some of the feedback Mr. Madden gave me was just try to not bring yourself down so much. And I think I definitely took that feedback and I tried to learn from it. Be like, look, like this happened, but how can I improve? And rather than being like, oh, these were so bad, I'm so mad about how they turned out. You have to learn how to grow from it, and you have to be proud of everything you made, even if it didn't work out as expected. I still made a pretty good looking pair of pants. They just didn't seem to fit right. So I definitely really appreciated that feedback that I received from Mr. Madden, and that actually definitely strengthened my confidence through this project. And I'm really proud to show off all of the things I've created now, whether or not they turned out wearable or not. Some more of the habits of mine that I've noticed include flexibility because things definitely go wrong. Some of the fabrics I've sewn, they bunch up weird. Specifically, if you're sewing with like a thinner fabric or something satiny, it doesn't react well. Um, and again, like those pants, I definitely learned a lot from the project of making those pants. Edges start to fray, and you kind of have to learn how to adapt to it. You have to learn you gotta overlock these edges, or it's just not going to work. And you have to be able to make changes through your process. I could not have finished any project if I didn't start doing research on how can I fix this issue that I've just faced. Oh, this is starting to fray. What do I do to fix that? Oh, this is um, too small. How do I take it out? How do I take it in? You just kind of have to constantly be looking. And then the last one that I kind of wanted to speak on was resourcefulness. I started to look for materials and inspiration pretty much everywhere I went. I went thrifting a lot through quarantine and then over the summer when stores were starting to reopen. And one of the things I found really enjoyable was sometimes rather than looking for clothes that I thought were really interesting, I started looking more for fabrics and how could I make this work. So I actually bought a pair of men's pants and I did turn them into a bucket hat. And it's one of my favorite bucket hats. I think it's really cool and I really like how the pattern turned out. And it's definitely unique. You're obviously not going to see anyone else wearing that bucket hat. Um, and I just think being resourceful, and I, at one point even, I have one of my brother's t-shirts that I turned into a just kind of like women's top with like a ruched center because you kind of have to be able to look for ideas and everything and how you can flip that and how you can make it something that will work for you. Because one quote that I actually really, it's like a quote that I really like, and I can't remember exactly who said it, but I saw it on the internet, and it just said, "We aren't made to fit clothes; clothes are made to fit us." And I think that's really important, and you should be able to have that customizable feature where you can change stuff and make it work for you. Even if it's not everything that you get at a store, you should be able to turn it into something that works for you. And that's something I've really enjoyed about sewing, is being able to really customize and make it fit me well, make it fit my friends well, changing the length on things for my family and friends. It's definitely been a really enjoyable aspect and um, something that I've definitely learned that I get really excited about whenever I'm working on projects. I just wanted to do a brief little thing about what I plan to do in the future because I am going into my senior year, so I have hopes to continue this slightly. When I was working on this project, I almost fell into this like hole, just like looking into all of this different information on sustainability and ethicality of all these different brands, and I found it really interesting, and I really liked how sewing kind of tied right into that, and how the um everything we buy is just so heavily consumed. And there was a statistic that I think a fashion brand right now, Zara, makes almost like 800 million garments a year. Because consumers just take things so much and we have no use for all this clothing. So next year, I kind of want to look a lot more into shopping sustainably, as well as sharing the information that I find and trying to hopefully encourage other people to shop sustainably or learn how to alter things for themselves or anything like that. I also, a couple times this year, I tried to teach some people sewing. Like I said earlier, I am in costumes and I helped lead some of the things where we were sewing. I taught some people how to use machines and hand sewing that I'd love to teach more people, possibly do like workshops. And just spread awareness of like the effects of the fast fashion industry. I just wanted to include this like little chart here that I always found really interesting, and it's just kind of displaying how much waste comes from clothing and how over the years, this only goes till 2017, but let me just move my camera. Um, like a little bit under 20 like billion tons are wasted every year. And it's just like crazy to me how much waste comes from clothing. That's pretty much it for my presentation. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. I've found this project really helpful, and I've definitely learned a lot through myself as well as sewing. And I think it taught me a ton of different important lessons. Thank you.